This is Steve Downs, the voice of Master Chief, Sierra 117, and you're listening to Podcast Unlocked, the world's #1 Xbox podcast. Now, finish this fight. Master Chief, out.
Happening, friends, welcome to Podcast Unlocked. It's episode 458. It's August 25th, 2020. I'm Ryan McCaffrey hosting with you as always. I'm joined by Plug Your Ears, Destin Legary.
Bam! Hey, everybody. You kind of jumped the gun on me. We might have got your full intro, but guerrilla style recording.
Oh, yeah, we're doing the best we can. Miranda Sanchez, hello.
Hello. I actually went to plug my ears. I was like, wait, there's headphones here. And I felt very silly about it.
Is your cat around? Are we going to see your cat today?
Oh, yeah. She's looking at me right now. If you're watching the video version, you can see one cat butt here, and she's on a cat tree. The other one's just looking at me deviously. Here she is. She's been such an asshole recently, so hopefully she's good during the show. Apologies. I know I'm not supposed to curse. We just had a whole conversation about that.
You're the nice one on the show.
There we go.
I'm very pleased to welcome a special guest from the community, Lord Cognito from the Iron Lord. Wait, it's the Iron Lords podcast. I've got that correct, right?
Correct. You got it.
Sir. Well, welcome. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Absolute pleasure. Huge fan of you guys. Watching for years. This is definitely on the bucket list of achievements as a gamer. So this feels good to be here, man. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, tell us a little bit about, for those that don't know, because you and we met at E3 a couple of years ago, did we not?
Correct.
Yeah.
So we met. Yeah, that was my second E3. My first one, I believe, was 2015. But we met. You were so busy. I was just glad you had enough time to stop and talk to me. But yeah, man. I mean, I've been podcasting. Obviously, Iron Lord podcast is the gig. Every Sunday we talk about the latest in gaming, and basically we try to do is celebrate the people in the industry, pretty much give them their roses while they can smell them. If you're a content creator, we've had people in the media, we've had various guests, and it's always fun, to have them on and also talk about the latest topics. Kind of 4 childhood friends, that pretty much now get together every Sunday to talk about the industry. And then an extension of that is lordsofgaming.net, which we just started our site, which is about a year ago. And also Destin's here, so he knows I'm a big Destiny fan. So
Iron Lords, yeah, of course.
Yeah, where that's inspired from. Yeah. The inspiration. So initially we were just a Destiny podcast, but then we went multi-platform, talk about all gaming, and then I'm a co-host of a purely Destiny podcast, which is The Last Word.
Fantastic.
I have to say, all the branding you have for your podcast is just fantastic. That is such a great logo.
Thank you. We usually get some positive feedback from it, so much appreciated.
And then we'll ask you again at the end of the show, but where can our listeners follow you on Twitter because they're going to fall in love with you during this podcast? That's the goal. So where can they follow you when the show's over?
Absolutely. So I'm at Lord Cognito on Twitter, and again, Iron Lord podcast on Twitter as well. So Perfect. You can follow me both there, but Lord Cognito.
Excellent. Yeah, you came highly recommended. We've been trying to have some different creators, different Black creators from the community on, and really try to be better about that. And you came highly recommended. People were like, you got to have Lord Cognito on, and I had remembered meeting you at E3, and it's like I remember him being a super nice guy. So I figured it would be fun. It'd be fun to just bring you in and we'll talk some Xbox. You picked a good week. We've got plenty of stuff to talk about. So. First, actually, I want to start. You and I are actually the only two that have had the chance thus far to play Battletoads. I mean, here we are. This is another significant Xbox first-party release in 2020. We were talking on last week's show about how busy the year has been for Microsoft first-party, for Xbox Game Studios. They've and it's not just all filler. We had Microsoft Flight Sim, a 10 out of 10 on IGN. We had Ori and the Will of the Wisps, a 9 on IGN, and there have been some good games. Gears Tactics got an 8 from us and did really well. So, and here we go with Battletoads. So I know we've both played about the same amount so far, just like the first maybe half hour of the game, first few missions. What are your thoughts on it so far?
Yeah, for me, I come from that old school beat 'em up, Streets of Rage ilk. So these kind of games do appeal to me. I remember the original one being extremely difficult. So that kind of, I didn't get that feel initially from it. I felt this was more lighthearted, more simpler. A lot of control, practice things in the beginning, kind of give you a feel of the game. And then as I went on, basically it's kind of drop in, drop out, which was interesting. And then I started the infamous speeder levels, as we discussed earlier, and those were interesting. Those were very, I will say, very challenging. My platforming in the 3D space, and it went on a bit long, Ryan. I have to admit, it went on very long. So, early impressions, I do feel the game is solid. If you're a fan of the genre, you're gonna love it. However, my personal beef with it is that, as a fan of that genre, I almost feel it's criminal sometimes, Ryan, that, like, for example, Cuphead, when they don't have online co-op incorporated with that style of game. And I was just hoping, it's a shame that maybe, I don't know if it's a server issue or anything of that nature, that they could have had that. Because I think that could have really breathed a lot of life into it, being able to 3-player co-op online, Xbox Live kind of a deal.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I'm with you, too, that it's just the first speeder bike level. It's like the third mission you play. It does drag on way too long. I'm playing it and going, okay, I got a feel for this. It's like I see it gets a little tougher. And then it just kept going. I'm like, how long is this mission? And it dragged on a little long for my taste as well. But I'm with you. Like, it feels good. It's very faithful to those old school beat 'em ups, the Double Dragons, the Streets of Rage, the original Battletoads that you talked about. And I like that. Like, it's got that. Like, I wanted to put a quarter into the TV. Like, that's how that game feels. I love the art style. I love the exaggerated cartoon animations. It does play really well. I even like, it's very self-aware. It makes jokes right away about how, look, it's been forever, and we've been like, it's very self-referential about how long
stuff going on, and
yeah. So it's got it's a good vibe to it so far. I definitely want to play more. I don't know. Yeah, you're right. The online co-op thing that hurts, but at least the thing I will say I like as a single player game. Not only can you switch on the fly to the other two Battletoads, but I like the way they work the single player sort of system, in that if you die, it switches you to one of the other ones, and then the first one goes on a respawn timer. So you can keep playing, if you burn all 3 before one of them respawns, then mission over. So I like that. I like you've kind of got that sort of cycle, that loop going, where you've got a second and a third chance that'll then reset in that window. So I thought that was pretty cool.
I feel as a single player, it gives you the feeling that you have a 3-person team at your disposal. So I hear you.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Miranda, you have been playing another game that came very highly recommended from IGN.com, which you should visit. And that is called Spiritfarer, which I believe it's in Game Pass, yes?
Yes. That's a big reason I wanted to talk about it. So we gave it a 9, which is, very highly recommended from us. And I've been waiting for this since last year we saw it on the Xbox showcase kind of stage. We actually got to go play it a little bit behind the scenes at E3. Back when we had conventions. And so it's just a very charming game about like the afterlife. You play a Spiritfarer whose job is to go visit these kind of wandering spirits, help them feel fulfilled, and then help them pass on. And it is so pleasant, but it's like weird to say, this is a weird framing for it, but it's not soft. Like, these characters curse and they have issues and they have a lot they want to talk about. And it's not necessarily just really, it's lighthearted and good without being too like fluffy, I guess is what to say. It's just like I'm trying to describe this as like a stuffed animal but with some sharp edges, and so it's like very up my alley. And like there's some like mild like resource simulation in it as well, but it never feels like it's too tedious. It's actually a really long game. It's like 35 hours.
Oh wow.
So yeah, I was really surprised. The characters are just written super well. It's a gorgeous game. So if you guys just need something that's a little bit more chill, I would highly recommend that. And I've been having a great time with it. So after I finish this, I'm gonna go Battletoads next. But
fantastic. Yeah. All right, quick pause here before we'll move on to our next topic, which is hey friends, we're at the end of August and there's no Xbox event. There's no what's going on. I want to go Lord Cognito's way first because like you've been following along with everything Microsoft's been talking about with regard to the next event. Is this going to be where Lockhart gets revealed? Sure hope so, because it already got revealed from the controller. So kind of piggybacking off of that and the fact that obviously this event is not going to be in August, we're now into September, which is fine, I guess, but we continue to wait for more information. How have you felt, and within your podcast community too, kind of what's your sense and the sense that you get from your audience about how Microsoft's been doing and how quiet they've been? Granted, Sony's been pretty quiet too, but how you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, this is a very interesting next gen. And I will say that in all my years, I'm a bit older. So in all my years, I've never seen anything like this in the sense of this ultimate high stakes game of chicken. And no one's willing to budge. So it shows that the stakes are high. And I think, as far as Microsoft, how they were doing, I felt like initially at the gate, like when we had the Game Awards, the Hellblade, the system reveal, they are firing on all cylinders. And then the ultimate transparency as far as this is how the system looks. They're taking it to different venues, different outlets, teardowns. I mean, they were on fire. And at that point, our community was kind of like, well, hey, Sony, like, what's going on? What are you guys doing? Because Microsoft is so transparent. Like, what's the deal? So then I believe the shift started probably around the third-party showcase, because even though I loved it, I'm gonna be honest with you, Ryan, I really did I liked Infinite. I like Scorn. I liked a lot of these games, especially they were mature titles, which is kind of a little bit of my nitpick. But obviously, when they market it as gameplay, and they don't deliver fully on that, I can understand the criticism, even though I liked it, right? And then obviously we had the big showcase, and again, as a whole, I liked the showcase. You know what I'm saying? But we all know Halo Infinite was synonymous with that showcase. And because it didn't necessarily show well graphically to the masses, again, selfishly, I liked it because I like the old school Combat Evolved aesthetic. I thought the gameplay looked cool. Yes, I did see the visual issues. I saw, the open worldness and the pop-in and stuff like that. But I was still excited. But at the end of the day, I think because of the negative reaction, they really lost a lot of momentum. And now here we are. We don't know the fate of Halo Infinite. That's a huge loss to the Series X launch. At this point, we're happy that it got delayed because we rather Halo be saved for quality and really push and make that the best. We know the importance of Halo. It's so important. So at this point, now it comes down to what's the play. Is it Game Pass? How are they going to market that? And they're in a tough position because at the end of the day, we still know Spider-Man is there for Miles Morales is there at launch for the PS5. They may have another third-party rumored, exclusive, and they're buying up things. So this is in our community, we said this is a critical time for them to get the confidence back in the Xbox base, whether in the short term, if they can do something, maybe a big third party with Game Pass, or in the long term, maybe some type of studio signing or acquisition.
Well said. Yeah, it's boy, I couldn't agree more about how they just. You think back now, we were so excited from the Game Awards up until May. Like they had a great 6 months there where they were just getting everything right, and it feels like they've just been stepping on rakes ever since. Like they just take another few steps, wham, ow, and then just take a few more steps, same thing, and here we are. So goes Halo, so goes the Xbox, it seems. And it's been rough waters, rough on the high seas for Halo. And it's dragging the system down with it at least in the short term, particularly as you said, as far as we know, there is nothing else new from first party at launch. That way, unless they're going to announce something real quick.
Right.
I mean, there's Gears Tactics will be coming to Xbox for the first time on Series X.
Which is a great game. I've played it on PC.
Yes.
If you're turn-based, it is a phenomenal game. I love that game.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, not at all. Yeah, I agree. We gave it an 8. And I know, Miranda, I think you played a bunch too. I got right up to the end before I actually didn't quite finish it because I got tired of the mission repetition. There's you do the same side missions like over and over and over. Yeah, but
mandatory side missions.
Yeah. I got to the point where I was like, I thought it was done, and I'm like, oh no, you have to do like 5 more side missions. Like, all right, I'm gonna call it. I've played this about 25 hours, but it is really good.
Yeah. So to the point of there not being any other big first parties, that would seem really intentional to me, because like if the focus would have been on Halo as they were expecting, like, you want to let that focus happen, not let something get just brushed under the rug because everyone's just so focused on Master Chief over here. Like anything else, it's like the spotlight is immediately off, and you want to make sure that spotlight gets passed around, right? And so it makes sense, but I guess maybe a reason we could also not see that August event happening was because the Halo delay. Like maybe that is a big part of it. It's like maybe they had something so focused around Halo, and like maybe that was how they built their presentation. Like, well, never mind, we have to redo all these assets that had Halo in it.
Maybe it was going to be a multiplayer reveal. Could have been any number of things. That's a great point.
Yeah, so I knew something was missing this month. I was just like, something is off. And what am I forgetting? It was that. So thank you for reminding me. That's like, what was I waiting for?
Well, so obviously there will be something in September. We've got to get it. There's no way September is going to go by without the price and release date and the Lockhart.
At this point, Ryan, I don't like.
I don't know, man. Look, I just got to say one last thing. Is that the stakes are so high, especially now without Halo Infinite, right? Because I think it is now imperative that they either match or price cut, just to have some attractiveness into the system. Again, I think where the issue comes down for me is that as the hardcore, all of us here, we're going to buy the Series X, right? We're that day one adopter. We're going in. And I think the issue comes down to the generation that was lost from the 360 guy or girl that went to the PS4, where they have to look at the system now and say, what's the differentiator, right? What's the appeal to make me go here? And I think at this point, they have to double down on Game Pass. They have to double down on value. And if they can somehow undercut with price, in addition to like an Xbox All Access program, where you are now the ultimate value. You can walk out right now, $30 a month with all these games, and they've got to push it, man, because it will be, I think they'll be fine sales-wise for the hardcore, but it's like, month 2, month 3, what's next? And that's my only concern.
Yeah, well said. And it's it's going to be just really interesting to see. Halo has clearly thrown a massive wrench into everything Microsoft was going to do.
Yeah, they're reevaluating. They have to.
Yeah, somebody sent me, I wish I could remember and give them credit their name, but somebody on Twitter sent me, I think it was I believe a Monster Energy can that like had already gone out with the Halo Infinite branding, like because the marketing was already starting. So they had sent me the image and like, well, whoops, guess they didn't, and it's just like, yeah, it's a massive blow to have Halo miss the window. But again, Cognito, I mean, we're 100% with you that you got to get the game right. You can't ship a bad or even disappointing Halo would be much worse for Halo and for the Xbox than a late Halo is.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah, as we've said so many times, they really have to prove something with this Halo. So,
so we'll see. Speaking of proving things, it'll be interesting to see what Treyarch will be up to on a 2-year dev cycle with Call of Duty. They're up this year with Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, which has been confirmed. There's a teaser for something that seems like it's happening in Warzone tomorrow. So we obviously we're recording here on Tuesday, as we always do. So we'll talk more about Call of Duty next week. But yeah, really curious to see, like, I hope it has a campaign this year, because Modern Warfare's campaign was excellent last year after Black Ops 4 didn't even have one. So we'll talk Call of Duty next week. Just want to say, in case you're listening to this on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you're like, why aren't they talking about Call of Duty? Well, it's because it hasn't happened yet as of our recording time.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Active
really
contract for Verdansk 3 hours ago. That's what they tweeted. They're teasing whatever they're doing tomorrow.
Interesting.
All right. Destin, you can mark that one. Gotham Knights finally announced as we get into the world of Xbox news proper for the week. Speaking of announcements that were a long time coming, Gotham Knights. So it's not a Batman game. It is a Friends of Batman game.
Bat
cross-gen.
family.
Yeah, Bat Family, exactly. It'll be on Xbox One as well as Series X sometime in 2021. It's described as an action RPG. Batman is dead. You play as either Robin, Nightwing, Batgirl, or Red Hood in the aftermath of that as Gotham goes wild, as word spreads that the Batman's dead. It supports 2-player co-op, online only, no local there, so the opposite of Battletoads. It has RPG-style leveling for both you and for the bad guys on this. So let me go actually Destin's way first on this. Destin, you play a lot of games that have floating damage indicators and a lot of numbery, grindy combat to them. So, this game, we've been expecting a Court of Owls game from WB Montreal. We are getting one. It seemingly does not have Batman in it. How did you feel about the reveal over the weekend?
I'm stoked. The only character that didn't make sense to me was Red Hood, but I'm stoked for Batgirl, Nightwing, and Robin. Just the fact that Red Hood is running around with guns, I'm like, why is he teamed up with people who don't do that? But I'm sure there's some explanation in the comics or something that I missed out on. But Red Hood's not the good guy typically in the stories that I've read. Red Hood, yeah. Batgirl looks awesome though. She looks really, really cool. Probably going to be my main. Robin and Nightwing also really good. I really love it when a combat designer uses tonfas, which is what she's utilizing in combat. Oh man, it's just. I'm pretty stoked for it. I really like the idea of playing with a friend and like coordinating your takedowns. My reaction was very positive to this game.
Miranda, how about you?
So as much as I love Batgirl, I really want to play Nightwing because I love Nightwing. One of my first loves, just generally, Batman was one of my first loves as a kid. And I am so very excited for this. I don't like it when Batman's dead, but also I do like to get to have the time with the rest of the Bat family, as we said. So it seemed pretty cool. I really do want to know more. We did go into depth about our skepticism of like, oh man, I really hope they don't have a Destiny like, Marvelous Avengers like here. We don't want that shared world. It's like, just give me a story with these characters and have co-op and just let us have a good time. And that's what this is, which is very exciting. So I'm hoping that this turns out to be what we're hoping for. But it does look pretty promising so far.
Cognito, how about you?
It looked great. I mean, I must admit, Destin knows, as fans of Destiny, we like numbers on top of
yeah.
We like damage in the game. So I'm a little worried for you, Ryan, actually, because I know you're, single player experience and stuff like that. But I guess the thing for me, like I said, Bat family, Batman's supposed to be dead, cool little twist story-wise, narratively. And I love the fight with Mr. Freeze. I thought that was pretty cool. And it looked good. Yeah, the free, exactly. Freezing and stuff. So it looked cool. The key is going to be, the implementation with the 2-player, how seamless is it, and as well as the narrative. Because sometimes with co-op games, I worry, again, with the narrative being cohesive and everything being fit in as opposed to it being tacked on. But like you said, it's an online-only mode, so we'll see. But I think the early preview, it showed well. It looked promising. I'm with Miranda, Nightwing. All day we're gonna have to get down with that, and I'm super excited. My only worry for Ryan is when I heard leveling bosses scaling. So I don't know about how you feel. So I'm gonna throw it back to you. I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, thank you. I have to say, like, I'm gonna be honest. I want to be optimistic and celebrate games, but I was underwhelmed by it. I wouldn't say I didn't dislike it, but I wanted to be more excited than I was, and I think there's a couple reasons for that, and you're hitting on one of them. But the sort of reason A is that this isn't a Batman game. And like Miranda, Batman's always been my favorite superhero by a mile. I watched the Adam West Batmans on reruns on Nick at Night when I was a kid.
Aww.
Yes. And then when Tim Burton's movie came out in 1989, I was 8, about to turn 9. And that movie, changed my kid life. I was obsessed with that movie. I wore out the VHS tape. I loved it. It was this dark, gritty take on this guy who's just, and I think by psychologically, if I want to just lay down on the therapist's couch for a second, I think maybe I always loved Batman because I was always like the skinny, short, small kid. And so I always felt physically inferior. And Batman, like the idea of being this rich guy this normal guy who just puts on a costume and just scares the crap and intimidates all the bad people. I maybe psychologically I always connected with that, but I always love Batman. I love the Arkham series, and the fact of the matter is, between Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad, which we'll talk about next, Batman's gone. There's no Batman, and I want a Batman game. The combat for Gotham Knights clearly is influenced by the Arkham games, but the detective elements are nowhere to be seen, and I'm not sure they're going to be in this game. And I love the detective and stealth elements of the Arkham games. So, part of me wonders. See, I got to preface this. I haven't read Court of Owls, and I know people are out there going to be like, "You say you love Batman and you haven't read Court of Owls. You're not really a fan," and that's fine. But if you want to say that to me, but I'm wondering if Batman's going to come back, like, at some point in the game, and you'll suddenly be playing as Batman, and that'll be a big surprise and like a big moment in that game, which would be sweet. And I don't know, maybe it's going to happen, maybe it won't. But
like in the last Arkham game when it was revealed that Red Hood was bad.
Yeah. And then I know I'm talking too long here, but to get back to Cognito's point that he teed me up for, yeah, I realized that part of what didn't sit right with me during that reveal was when the damage indicators started appearing above people's heads.
Mm-hmm.
I hate that. And I know it's just a UI thing. Every game does it behind the scenes. It's just a matter of whether they're showing it to you or not. I hate it shown to me, and hopefully you can turn it off in the UI. But I think part of the reason I get triggered that I hate that is because games that do that tend to be grindy games. Mm-hmm. And I respect, I know, like, you guys are huge Destiny fans, and that part of the game is very much appeals to you and you love that. I am just a player where I'm old enough now, and my gaming time is limited enough now. I respect anybody else, but for me, I don't have time for grinding. It's not fun for me. Okay. So
I truly
go ahead, Miranda.
Yeah.
Miranda.
Yeah, so quickly, sorry. Yeah, to your point about grinding, I think sometimes games like that, so like for instance, Persona is huge on grinding, but that's a single player experience, different from the kind of Destiny style grinding, which I think is very separated from this if we're looking at perspective wise.
Right.
I think you'd want to look at something like Persona, which can be a lot and can be very heavy, but usually there's like a difficulty setting that can be altered so that grinding isn't really as important. However, I will say that's not necessarily always the most fun option, because then you're sacrificing like that challenge that you wanted just so you don't have to grind, which is, sorry, my cat's here, which is a bit of a bummer. So hopefully that there's something there. It's more so to show you, like, if one of the characters is specializing in like critical damage or something, and there's like a skill tree that they really want to show you like popping off there, which I love doing, like building for crit. I think that could be really cool. And also, just to like backtrack just a tiny bit, I really do hope they also have some more interesting kind of detective work as well, because I think that's a big part of Batman that we seem to all enjoy. So,
Destin, you were wanting to jump in there too.
Yeah.
I truly think this is going to be absolutely accessible for a player like you, Ryan. I think the damage numbers are for people who want to dive deep. I don't think this is going to be like Destiny at all. I think it's going to be more like the Arkham Knights series, where like it's just easier for people to play together. You can kind of do whatever you want, and then if you want to get stupid powerful and play at a higher level, that will be there as an option, and that's why the scaling is in place, right? It really seems like, hey, if you want to get power crazy, it means things are going to be more challenging. But if you just want to play for the story, for players like you, Ryan, like I think that's going to be available to you. That based on what they've shown us.
To your point, yeah, I agree. I see what you're saying, Dustin. The only concern I have for Ryan is just that I know how he feels about the investigative aspect. And I'm not sure. I hope we're proven wrong. And like I said, we just got a vertical slice, and there are those aspects there. But I don't know, how it will be implemented in a co-op fashion. And maybe they do something really cool and innovative to kind of keep that, because I do feel that is part of the Arkham series, and I hope that you do get that.
Gears is co-op, and they do the
Yeah, I think that there's like a lot of great examples of co-op games executing well on like mysteries or puzzles, and I think there's a lot of ways they can integrate that and build it in a super fun way. And I think that's probably part of the intention, right? Because if this is built with co-op in mind, which I think they made that pretty clear by you always having people around, then I think there's going to be some it's going to lend itself well to those sorts of experiences.
Yeah.
But it makes sense they probably haven't just shown it yet. Because,
Yeah, that's all. Hopefully he just gets his visual relief that it exists, and then he'll be fine.
And to put a bow on this before we move to Suicide Squad, I'm not saying that Gotham Knights is grindy. It's just between the character leveling, the enemy leveling, and the damage indicators that it just set off the caution flag from you, like, is this game going to be grindy? So it's the good news is there is the Court of Owls narrative there. They do clearly seem to be focusing on story, which makes me very happy. So we'll see. We'll see this. We're going to see a lot more about this game next year before it releases on both Xbox One and Series X. All right, Suicide Squad being, of course, the other big reveal game-wise from DC FanDome over the weekend. Suicide Squad killed the Justice League from Rocksteady. A 2022 release, Series X only, and PS5 and PC. But no current gen, no Xbox One for this one. 1 to 4 players. You can play by yourself, or you can get 4 people playing in co-op. Harley Quinn, King Shark, Captain Boomerang, and Deadshot. And quote from Rocksteady, from Sefton Hill, "This is a continuation of the Arkhamverse." So a lot of threads and storylines you're going to see come to fruition in this game. Cognito, I'll go to your way first for reactions to this long-anticipated announcement from Rocksteady.
Yeah. I mean, this is definitely, we've waited a long time. It was one of those things where I love the premise. The premise is so cool. Obviously take down the Justice League, take down Superman, that kind of stuff. I struggle with this particular showing only because it's such a cinematic trailer. You still don't get an idea of what actually is happening here. So we do have the idea it is a shooter, like you said, 4-player, cooperative. I just need to know more about the game. I don't feel I left with any particular answers or what's happening. And sometimes that's the risk I feel sometimes the companies do when, sometimes the game is far out, or again, you just get this cinematic trailer, and sometimes I know it's farther out, but you just wish you had some idea of what the gameplay mechanics are. So I love the premise, just want to know what's actually the gameplay.
Miranda, how'd you feel about this reveal after 5 years of silence from Rocksteady?
Exactly the same as Cognito. It's like, well, that was, I really did like the tone of the cinematic. I think it was a lot of fun, and that's promising. I think they really nailed that sort brand of comedy that we would want to see from Suicide Squad. But other than that, just like, oh, okay, I guess we will see more later. Good to know it's confirmed and exists.
A shared sentiment I saw from Xbox fans on my timeline on Twitter. A lot of people getting Sunset Overdrive vibes from the tone of the game, and also the color palette of it as well. It's definitely a brighter game, seemingly than the Arkham games were. Destin, how'd you feel about the Suicide Squad reveal?
I wanted some more logos on Twitter, man. Just go another year. No, like a CG trailer. Okay, I'll say this. So let's start positive. I love the character selection. I really like the characters that are available. I'm Captain Boomerang all the way. He's just like the joke character, and it's just great to see him in there. I also really like Deadshot, King Shark, and who's casted and everything. I just love their chemistry together as a team, right? I love that you're chasing after these overpowered heroes, and you're going to have to figure out a way to defeat them, sort of like in The Boys, which is the show we were talking about off the air, right? Like, that whole premise is really fun. But we don't have any indication of what the gameplay is going to be like. So tone-wise, okay, we get it. I really thought we would see screenshots at the very least of what the gameplay mechanics are going to be like. Like, is this going to be like the Gotham game we were just discussing, or is it going to be something totally unique? Is it the whole 4-player thing? Is this going to be like Marvel's Avengers? There were a lot of people saying, okay, 4-player co-op. Is this going to be like Avengers, which a lot of people are concerned about right now? So there's so many questions about it. Overall, I'm trying to stay optimistic about it. Like the tone, I need to see some gameplay at this point. Never do the logo thing again, also. That was sarcasm.
Yeah, that I think that's where, again, I was a bit underwhelmed by the reveal. And again, I've reserved the right. I still hope to be very excited about this game at some point, but for a reveal after 5 years, And the fact that, so it's not only it's been 5 years, but that it's 2 years away and we still only got a CG teaser, no gameplay, very little details. That's a little, that was a little frustrating. I mean, I get, of course, if the alternative is showing early in progress, in development gameplay that's not going to be impressive and is the internet's going to take it and rip it apart. Well, you don't want that, obviously. So I completely understand where they're coming from. But yeah, it is a little bit of a shame that we didn't see more of this. But yeah, it's 2 years out. We'll see. It's mixing third-person gunplay with third-person melee, but it does seem like, I believe Sefton said it, so it didn't seem like it's going to be a game as a service. It's not going to be like an Avengers or a Destiny for those like me who were not wanting that kind of thing to happen.
I love the emphasis.
I really want damage numbers though. I hope they have damage numbers all over the place.
Don't do that to him.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, I mean, I will say I am energized by the fact that it's not bothering with the PS4 or the Xbox One, that this thing is built for these higher end machines. That leads me to believe that hopefully we're going to get a more, detailed, fleshed out world and just a better game out of it. That part makes me happy. Next up, let's see here. We've got a little bit. Still got some time left. A game that came out of nowhere. Speaking of next gen game reveals, I actually want to go Miranda's way first on this. Black Myth Wukong came out of nowhere last week and just took the gaming community by storm. It is. It looks stunning. They showed a 13-minute demo that included some cutscenes, some CG cutscenes, but then a huge chunk of actual gameplay built on Unreal Engine, coming out of China from some ex-Tencent developers. And Miranda, this game, to me, it was more of a wow factor. It was a better next-gen showing than anything Microsoft or Sony have revealed so far.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks very cool. So Wukong, I like very much this character, the Monkey King, because he's pretty much present in every MOBA. So Monkey King's like a character in Dota that I've played. And so getting to see some of those like standard Monkey King attacks and just like of course, like the soldiers that come out, it's all very familiar to me. So it's kind of cool to see that expanded, of course, within the actual mythology of it and following that full lore into this really beautiful gameplay demo we got to see. I also want to follow up with like a news story that came out after it just sort of blew up. The developers responded to the popularity of the trailer in such a humble way. Yeah, I see. Cognito, I know you saw it too. It's just so humble. Sweet. Yeah,
it was so cool. So cool to see.
So this was translated, and they said. I'm quoting from our story. He adds that the team has been happy with the explosive popularity of the trailer, but makes clear that they won't let it get to their heads, and even ask viewers to forget the footage as it doesn't represent their best work, and goes into all the issues with that trailer had, which of course everyone's over here like losing their minds, like, wow, this looks so cool, this looks great, the systems, like the gameplay mechanics look fantastic, and then he's like, wait, please. It's not the final version. Please don't be too impressed, because we have a lot of work to do on this. It's like, whoa.
It's not even
cool.
It's not even the newest Unreal Engine, right, Miranda?
It's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They made it on 4.
She's like, what are y'all doing? That's crazy. But of course, there's a lot of things up in the air as far as like, when is this even going to come out? And we don't know which services it's going to be on. But I think they said that they were aiming for mainstream consoles and PC with no release date, really. But we don't really know what this is going to change to. So. Very exciting. A lot of potential here.
They're still hiring. They said they're staffing up quite a bit. I think they said there are about 40 people on staff, and they want to hire 20 more, if I'm remembering correctly on that. So this was probably the most convincing recruiting pitch of all time. Just released an amazing 13-minute gameplay trailer. Cognito, your reaction to this, what I think is fair to call probably a Souls-like game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, wow, right? This thing broke the internet. I mean, I saw the trailer. I could not believe that was not next gen. And I think you said it perfectly. Like, I have to be honest, like, I'm excited about the next gen consoles. We know the power, we know what is going to happen in the future. But I felt to this point, until Black Myth, I didn't see anything that knocked my socks off. And this was the first time I'm like, you could have lied to me and told me this was next gen. And I'm like, yeah, I see the velocity architecture. I see the SSD. You could have fooled me. I mean, this thing looked phenomenal. So salute, it was a game science team, I believe. And like Miranda said, so humble. Like they're pointing out inconsistencies in the game. And, we apologize for the frame rate here. And I'm like, this thing looks amazing. I mean, we talked about it in our community. I mean, I was completely blown away. The sheer scale of certain scenes and the boss fights and transforming from an insect to this. And there was one scene he's on a cloud and there's another scene he's fighting like these celestial beings. And I'm just like, the sheer scope of this. And again, I believe it's that, the Chinese mythology with the journey to the West. And man, all I will say is, Phil, we need to get on the phone, man. Phil, man, if they need assistance, this is the type of studio, man, that you would, it would be nice to Game Pass, or just even as a timed exclusive, if they could. These are the type of games that I feel like I want to see Xbox kind of get behind, those single player experiences I feel that Sony does so well. And I actually put a little fun tweet out on Twitter, like, hey, Phil, back the truck of, hey, paging game science. Got a little traction, but all jokes aside, we just want it to come out. I think they said it's coming to major consoles as well as cloud streaming, which is interesting. Mm-hmm. And hopefully they continue to work on it. This thing actually sees the light of day, but salute to those guys. That was absolutely amazing.
Sony's got Bloodborne, so why not? Microsoft.
That's true.
And they said it's a series. They said this is going to be like a first in a series for them. This thing has a foundation. I'm sorry, Destin. Continue. I'm just too excited.
It was just a small thing, but the moment that sold me is when he beat the character with a flaming bow staff, and the bow staff went flying in there and landed perfectly next to him. I'm just like, okay, so many things happened there. A, it landed perfectly. It didn't collide with anything. It wasn't weird. B, you get the loot from your opponents. Like, that was really intriguing to me. And it was a really, really tough fight involving pairing and everything. I was just like, oh, I'm in. And that was like early on in the demo, so it just ramped up from there.
I think I'm just especially to know a little bit more about Monkey King 2, because obviously, as I said before, he's present in like every MOBA, but you get that MOBA's iteration of Monkey King, and so getting to learn more about the lore of that would be really exciting. I do want to note the only other like really next gen game I've seen presented so far is probably Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. That one I think also really showed super well as far as like just the colors and like the activity in that world, and so between those two, I think it's a promising future for us.
Yeah, and we're going to see Ratchet & Clank. I know we're on an Xbox podcast, but that's it.
Sure.
Gamescom Live coming up later this week, so watch that on IGN. All right, on to the loot box. This is a fun one. Kevin Kiesel, whose gamertag is Narsil Falcon, writes in and says, I'm a big Halo fan, and I'm disappointed that Halo Infinite has been delayed. Although I'm happy it will get more dev time, I'm getting frustrated with 343's inability to make an all-around great Halo game. And with this delay, I have to now look at how 343 is being managed. They've had the Halo franchise for nearly as long as Bungie did at this point, with only 2 good games compared to Bungie's 5 great games. Does the Unlock crew think that Microsoft needs to step in and hand off Halo to a new team? And why do you think 343 is having so many issues with the franchise when a developer like the Coalition was able to take Gears and continue to make it better, in my opinion, in both gameplay and graphics? So a lot to chew on there. We've got a few minutes. Destin, I want to go your way first to react to this.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. Yeah, it's kind of funny that Kevin brings this stuff up, because I've been thinking a lot about sort of like 343, what they've done with it. I remember when Halo 4 came out and what they were able to achieve technically.
It was stunning on the 360.
That was it was a 360 game. And I still can't believe that they managed to pull that off. It told a really compelling story. I like the character arc. And then we all know, we've talked about how we feel about 5 and now we're to Infinite. And it's just, it almost seems like a regression, and I don't think that we have a full understanding of what the scope of Halo Infinite's going to be. So I'm going to save final judgment now that it's back in the cooker, but I got to agree. I'm concerned about whatever's going on at 343. I don't know why they're having these sort of issues. It's almost like they change their vision with every iteration. It just seems like it's alternating too much. I don't have a good answer for it. I'm not in the weeds there, but I can understand where Kevin is coming from with this concern. And I want to see 343 come out and kick ass. And
well, I know we can't attribute anything to one person on a huge team effort, but Corinne Yu, who is an extremely well-regarded, talented programmer, was at 343 for Halo 4 and then left for Naughty Dog. So, I don't know what as far as Halo 4 being so technically impressive, I don't know how much of that might be attributable to her. But you're right. That it's when you think, I remember thinking back, now that you mention it, it's like, that game looked so good that when they put it in Master Chief Collection 2 years later on the Xbox One, it still looked like an Xbox One game.
Yep.
That's how good that game looked. Cognito, a lot to chew on from Kevin here about 343 and the state of Halo.
Yeah, man, this is tough because I'm obviously Destiny fan. I'm a Bungie guy, but I've always been sympathetic to 343 in the sense that I've always felt that they inherited this child, right? This was not their initial creation, and the expectation that was set, for this franchise is so high. And, for me, it's been uneven. It's been, we've had the Master Chief Collection. We don't want to go and revisit that, but we've had, Halo 4 with, like Destiny saying, an amazing campaign, but not necessarily regarded with the strongest multiplayer. Then we had Halo 5, which the multiplayer is amazing, but not necessarily regarded with the greatest single player. So the where I have the disconnect is with the Infinite reveal, because again, even though I selfishly didn't mind it, I do feel that how ambitious it was, if they got that kind of reception, I am concerned with, I don't want to say anyone's leadership or anything like that, but I am concerned with the direction. I am concerned that who's making the decision process, because it seems a little disjointed. And this is so important. We've got so much, length of development time that's been invested. Now we're hearing rumblings of possibly, dropping the Xbox base version. There's so many things going on right now. And right now, listen, we just want Halo to be good. I am willing to give them the benefit of the doubt for Halo Infinite and take as much time as you need. Let it cook, but it has to be great. And it's almost like you have to grade them as if this one's not successful, then I think, we may have to question, who the reins go to or so on and so forth. But I'm pulling for them to knock it out the park. Halo's super important. I thought it was bold for them to delay it, because I thought that thing was hella high water coming, with the launch. Every time we heard it Infinite, it was synonymous, Series X. And the last point I'll make, Ryan, is that where it disappointed is that because the marketing was so tied to Series X, the performance, the power of the machine, everybody wants to see these things. And where they kind of lost me, and I think you said this in the past a lot, was how was ray tracing, a key feature, not going to be there, right? So when you start to hear it, that's when a little red flag goes up for me. And like I said, I just hope they get it right and they get this direction down, because this thing needs to be great.
Miranda, you're a big Halo fan as well.
Yeah, so I think Dustin kind of hit the nail on the head for me when he said that there seems like a shifting vision, and that seems to be hurting them a lot. And Cognito, you touched on it too. But it's like, how was ray tracing a miss there? Like, who said, hey, this is going to be a launch title for Series X? And obviously ray tracing is such a huge visible feature for people who don't necessarily always have to understand the tech specs to know that ray tracing is like kind of key for next gen. Ray tracing, load times, of course you want frame rate, better graphics, like that. It is all synonymous with next gen. How do you not have that ready for Master Chief? And so I don't, as everyone has already noted too, like we don't know what goes on behind the scenes at 343. Like we don't know what sort of, people are involved, maybe even beyond them, in saying you need to be doing this, or like we need to be doing all these different projects. But they really do need to nail it. And it is a bit of a bummer to see that they missed the mark so hard on that. I don't necessarily think that you need to, I guess I can't really say that I'm in position to say whether or not they need to completely shake up their leadership or whatever needs to happen. It's hard to really know what's going on without having a deep dive of like, hey, what did happen? What did happen with the Halo 5 campaign? Because obviously there's a big shift there. Like the first reveal of it is so different from what we actually got from that game. And so you see those sort of things happen and you have to wonder what is going on. But I'm hoping that with the time that they've had for Halo Infinite and the time that they're giving it still, I mean, obviously, COVID's kind of changed the world as far as production and just everything else goes. So, like, maybe some of these features were scrapped due to time because it was planned. We know ray tracing was planned to come later. Maybe they just thought, oh, well, we can still launch it with Series X because, as Cognito said, it's synonymous. Like, we kind of got to do this. And so they're like, okay, well, we can put that out later. Like, it'll be fine. And then they get the feedback that it's not fine. So I think that could be a part of something we do need to consider. But also given how much we've seen of Infinite and that they're obviously trying to do kind of a revisioning of Halo, like that spiritual reboot, right? That's a huge undertaking. And obviously that's going to take time. And so I think there's just so much at play here that I know we all really just want to see it work out well. And I agree that there's probably some things that just need to be evaluated as far as like priorities. But again, it is so hard to say exactly what's going on without having that insight to the studio and what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, I think Cognito said everything I wanted to say, but I guess I'll address in Kevin's loot box question. I'll say more definitively. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, I'm not making the decisions at Microsoft, obviously, but I think Cognito laid out the case of 4, 5, Master Chief Collection. If Infinite, especially after Microsoft really put the trust in them to say, you know what, we're going to give you the time and the resources because it's going to cost a hell of a lot more money at this point, too. If this game's not out for another year, that's a lot more money. You're paying hundreds of people another year's salary and benefits. Not to mention all the money that they're going to be losing on like the Monster Energy drinks that they already paid for. So I think it's fair to say just in a results-oriented business world, heads probably will roll at 343 at some, I don't know what leadership levels, how far up or down that would go. But I think it's fair to say that, yeah, changes will be coming probably if Infinite does not deliver at the end of the day. So, we're saying we want Infinite to deliver. We don't want to see anybody's heads roll. Nobody wants that. But at the end of the day, this is Microsoft's golden goose. It has been. And the thing I wanted to say from the one big reason I chose Kevin's loot box question this week is because he said something that it stopped me cold as I was reading his email, because I never thought about this until he wrote it. And that is, Kevin said, 343 has had the Halo franchise nearly as long as Bungie did at this point. And that never clicked with me until he wrote it down. And he's right. I mean, it's been about, it's almost 50-50 now. Yeah. Granted, Bungie worked on Halo prior to 2001, but okay, 2001, Halo 1 comes out. 2010, Reach comes out, their final game in the franchise. And then same thing, 343 started on Halo 4 prior to 2012. Technically, 343's first release was Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary in 2011, which they worked on with Saber Interactive. So, but anyway, so roughly let's call it 2011 to 2020, and obviously Infinite won't be out till 2021. So yeah, it's about a decade apiece. And yeah, it's like they've almost had it longer than Bungie. It won't be too much longer. And the results, Cognito said it great. Like, there just hasn't been that all around great Halo game. They have not been able to put all the pieces together in one package. And so, yeah, I think it's reasonable to expect that changes will come at that team in a major way. Again, who knows how far up or down the ladder there that would go. But if you're Matt Booty, if you're Phil Spencer, and Infinite doesn't deliver, which again, we all want it to deliver. We want nothing more than for it to deliver. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Hopefully this will all be a moot discussion
Yeah.
And Halo Infinite will come out and be a 10 out of 10 game, and they'll have fulfilled their vision and fulfilled the technical promise. I don't care quite frankly, I don't care if they drop Xbox One support. I know it's a huge part of their strategy to transition people. But yeah, I mean, I know Phil called the whole it won't hold old gen won't hold new gen back thing a meme. I'm not on board with that anymore. I'm not. I mean, I respect the hell out of Phil, and again, he may. It's their business strategy to try to transition that, but it's just I've heard from enough developers. I don't know if these Halo Infinite rumors of the Xbox One version causing a lot of problems with the technical vision of the game. I don't know if those are true, but I've seen enough, I've heard enough where I think I'm no longer on board with I do think there is clearly there are issues with trying to develop for both. And I would rather just see the full power of the 12 teraflop machine in action without having to worry about the 1.8 teraflop machine. So we'll see what happens. I feel one last thing, Destin, real quick. I just want to, one last point on this. I would be shocked if Xbox One support, if that rumor is true, I would be shocked if they did drop support for the Xbox One, even if they push it way out, because I feel like they've painted themselves into a corner on that. But I would applaud the heck out of them if they did. And if they just came out and said, you know what, to fulfill the full vision of this game, we need the full power of the Series X without having to we can't do it the way we want it on the old console. I would applaud them. They would of course take unending amounts of shit online, but they're going to take that. They're going to get that anyway. They've already delayed the game. I mean, they've already proven that they have the stones to do what's best for the franchise and the game. So yeah, give me all the new gen only. I think it was telling that so many of the big games from the showcase did not mention Xbox One at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, a lot of them are, yeah.
Yeah, so Destin, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was just sort of looking into this, and pop quiz. Who wrote Halo 1, Ryan? You probably know off the top of your head.
Joseph Staten.
Who wrote Halo 2?
Also Joseph.
3.
Also Joseph.
Reach.
I don't know if he wrote that or if Marcus wrote it, because Joseph was on ODST, I think.
He was involved with the writing.
He was involved.
Halo 4 was Christopher Schleif, I believe is how you say his last name, and Halo 5 was Brian Reed. They can't even have consistent lead writers between two entries in the franchise, and I think that's probably partially to account for the disjointed nature of it. Like, I mean, the fact that you have one person sort of crafting the world and everything when Staten was running it does a lot to have that sort of cohesive narrative storytelling. And I mean, that's one aspect of it. How many other shufflings have happened at 343 just to sort of... I really want to dive into this more. Like, what is going on at 343? Is there more there?
We've seen there have been a couple of project lead changes just on Infinite.
Right.
I mean, we've seen that. Kevin Luongo left, and I believe it was Mary Olsen. I think was also. I think they've had a couple of people go, and I mean that happens on a project. But you're right, Destin. That definitely can, when at the sort of director level, that can have an effect.
I will say also that the writer doesn't necessarily dictate the entirety of the story, right?
True.
Because like there are a lot of changes that have to be made to be fitting for the game itself and the gameplay and like a certain key point that they want to hit. So while, yes, the writer does dictate parts of the story, they're not the sole person who directs that.
Absolutely. The point I was more trying to make is that there was a consistent team working on Halo 1, 2, 3, and Reach. Yeah. And 343 has been sort of all over in terms of who's working on what.
Yeah, and Kevin brought up the coalition as being just done such a fantastic job with Gears, which I totally agree with. And to that point of consistency, they have had Tom Bissell on both 4 and 5, and just their narrative team. Have Rod. They had their narrative team is just fantastic. Like that whole group, I think, just has a very unified focus on what they want to do. And also, granted, I have spent more time with the Coalition team, like as far as like for Agent First and other stuff, so I like know who they are. Whereas with 343, I don't necessarily have that same exposure, so it's hard to say. But just going off of the people who have been working on this, it's different.
It's definitely a meaty topic.
Yeah, definitely. This is spicy. This is spicy. To Ryan's point, I really feel you. I think everything you said, you know, it comes from the heart. I mean, selfishly as a gamer, you want the highest fidelity, right? You want to showcase your system. And I absolutely feel you. Selfishly, that's what I would love as well. And my concern is, you made a good point about the backlash, right? But the reason why I'm even more concerned about it is because I felt the marketing was so tied into cross-generation. This is what we're doing, right? We're not leaving anyone behind.
Sure.
And you know, that would be a huge step back for them to do it. And would they, like you said, have the stones to say, hey, because of this title and maybe the technical issues that we're having on the base level, on the lowest common denominator, right? Are we willing to make that sacrifice to make the ease of development? And that's a huge part of their whole message versus PlayStation, because PlayStation is like, hey, the generations start here. We want you in here, that kind of thing. And again, selfishly, I'm for it. You know, I'm with you. I just want to know if they would kind of backtrack on that, because that would definitely be an about face from the marketing to this point of how they've addressed the Series X, how they brought it to the table, so to speak.
Well, I think it makes sense for some games that you could easily go ahead and do an Xbox One version, but it's just not a one size fits all solution. And for Halo, it might not work. And so they wouldn't necessarily have to walk back the whole thing, but just say, hey, for Halo, we want the best, most, next generation experience for, Infinite's supposed to be the platform for the next 10 years of Halo. So, maybe for Halo, it's not the best move. We shall see.
We shall see.
All right. We've got just a few minutes left in the podcast. It is Unlock Block Trivia time. I love when we have our guest panelists like Lord Cognito here to test your Xbox trivia. Now, at the top of the show, Mr. Cognito, you proclaimed yourself an older gamer. So this is a true test of that old school gamer knowledge. Now, I want to go on the record here. This is a question about official Xbox Magazine's game discs, which I worked on most of. I did not get this question right when I like slowly scrolled without revealing the answer here. So I got this wrong, and I worked at OXM. I just want to make everybody feel better right away by saying that up front. Our trivia question comes to us from Trevor in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada, who asks, which of the following game demos was not included on the very first official Xbox Magazine Xbox demo disc? Now, as you guys know, some of our audience maybe doesn't know if they're younger gamers, long before demos were delivered on Xbox Live, the only place you could get game demos on or for the original Xbox was with our magazine, OXM. It was a big selling point. It was a big part of our product. And it was awesome. Like, I remember we would get the builds. We would get builds of the disc in from our developer partner and from publishers. The one that jumps out is, I remember when we got the demo for Splinter Cell Chaos Theory it was the first mission, the Lighthouse mission. And it was just like, so we were playing it before the general public, and it's just like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. I remember we got a demo of Ninja Gaiden, and it's like, we played that demo forever till we had so many, those were good days. Anyway, OXM disc number one, which of these was not included? Was Shrek not on that disc? Was Turok Evolution not on that disc? Amped or The Thing? None of those are fake games. Those are all real original Xbox games. One of them, or three of them, were on the OXM number one disc. One of them wasn't. I'm going to save our guest for last on this one and go to Destin first.
Oh, man. Dang it. This is such a tough one. I don't know why, but I was going to guess Turok, so I'll stick with my instinct there and say Turok.
All right. Sure. We'll mark that down for you.
Great.
We'll see what happens. Miranda, I'm going to pull up the scores here. Go ahead, Miranda.
I think The Thing. I've never owned a demo disc, so that's maybe telling. But I have played Shrek and Amped, and I enjoyed both of those games as a small child. But I don't know about The Thing. I think that would maybe not.
All right, you're going with The Thing.
Yeah,
Cognito, how about you, my friend?
This is tough, right? I remember all these games, so it's kind of funny. I do remember The Thing, but do I remember playing it on a disc? I don't. I'm like with Miranda there. I don't remember doing it. So I'm going between Turok and The Thing. All right, you know what? I'll say The Thing. I'll say The Thing wasn't there. I'll die on that sword.
All right. Unfortunately, the Lord is dying on his sword. You should have listened to the other half of your brain. It was Turok.
It was Turok.
Turok Evolution.
Good one.
So Destin tying Miranda for the 2020 lead, 6 points. Brandon still got 7, and the poor guy's been trapped on Gamescom programming.
It's a 1-point game.
It's a 1-point game.
I thought it was done months ago.
You pull it up, man. Shout out to Brandon for this commanding lead without him being.
Trevor from Saskatoon, congratulations! You have that was a great question, and Destin, great job on that. You get the tip of the cap. You flipped a coin. You flipped a 4-sided coin, and it landed on the correct answer there. Okay, we have got to wrap this thing up. We've just got a few minutes left. For me, real quick, I'll just start. You can. There's the Yappa comments. We'd love to have those. We'll try to get those back next week when we're on our sort of regular production. Destin's once again kindly pulling double duty as both panelist and producer. But if you go to this episode's article page on IGN, so Unlocked, just Google IGN Unlocked 458, leave a Yappa comment. You don't have to make a Yappa account. You can sign in with LinkedIn, Facebook, Discuss, or I think Google as well. So one of the things you maybe already have, leave us a video, voice, loot box question. Would love to hear from you there. Also, IGN Prime is back. Use the promo code UNLOCKED to get a free month. You get ad-free browsing on IGN desktop and mobile. You get a store discount, all of our cool t-shirts we've got. You can download game videos and also game guides for offline access, free indie games, and more. And then for me, you can follow me on Twitter at DMC_Ryan. And the thing I want to promote this week is another IGN Unfiltered. Had one last week, 2 of them this month to make up for the fact that there wasn't one in July. And my guest, fittingly this week with Gamescom opening night live coming right up, I'll be watching that. My guest is Jeff Keighley. So my friend Jeff, we talked through his whole career, how he got to where he is. We talked about the next-gen console race. A lot of great topics there. Look for that on IGN, on YouTube, or on your favorite podcast service. It's pushed out in podcast form as well. Lord Cognito, plug away. Where can we find you? Remind us again, because you've had, it's been a wonderful appearance. I've loved having you. Where can people follow your work?
Before I do that, thank you guys. This was absolutely awesome. Had a fantastic time. A lot of fun. Huge fan of you guys. So definitely a dream and fulfilled. But as far as me, at Lord Cognito on Twitter. And of course, every Sunday is the Lord's Day Iron Lord podcast, usually 1 p.m. Eastern. You can catch us at lordsofgaming.net. That's our fan site. And actually, you guys, we got sourced by you guys with a Minecraft article, which was pretty cool. Sweet. So salute to that. And Destiny knows, so if you like Destiny only, if you don't want to, you want to dive into that, I also do a podcast on Fridays called The Last Word with Ebontis. So again, absolute pleasure. This was a ton of fun. And like I said, you guys are great. So thank you again for having me in the realm of Unlocked.
Absolutely. More than happy to have you. This will not be your final appearance. We're going to have you back again. Absolutely.
Much appreciate it.
Destin.
I have said Ebontis' name wrong for 5 years. He never corrected. I've been saying Ebonitis or something.
Ebonitis. I'm telling him that Friday.
Oh man,
that sounds like a disease.
I thought he was being clever. I don't know. I apologize to Ebontis, right?
Yeah,
That's how you say it. All right. Well, I got it now. That's embarrassing. Anyway, yeah, Gamescom kicks off this Thursday. Opening night live is the big opener. We're going to have a post show. We'll be broadcasting that on IGN as we are one of the official partners there. Really, really excited to see everything coming out of the show there. That's what's going on at IGN. That is our big focus internally. Personal stuff, as always. You want to watch me after hours? Check me out at twitch.tv/Destin for after work stuff.
Oh,
I don't do stationary on my streams, but Miranda has a super cool stream too. You should check out.
Miranda, take us home.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can follow me at Havoc Gross, and that's Havoc with a K, pretty much everywhere. So as Dustin mentioned, Gamescom has been keeping me very busy. If you notice, I'm pretty sleepy also because there's fires and my lungs are having a hard time. But that's a whole different thing. So I'm actually hosting Gamescom cosplay contest. So I'm very excited for that this weekend. So please check that out. I will also be periodically on our Gamescom broadcast doing some live hosting. So please come and join us. Also, stick around for our Call of Duty coverage because I will absolutely be involved with that. I am so stoked. So that's going to be a good time because I enjoy Call of Duty. So personal stuff, yes, as Dustin said, I do have a stationary stream that is Havoc Rose on Twitch. But tonight, I am playing episode 2 of Alan Wake because I hadn't played that all the way through before. So I'm very excited for that. So if it's Tuesday when you're listening, you can come on through and say hello.
I actually watch your stationary streams. They're good.
Yeah, chill. Which we all need. Well, Destin, thank you, Miranda, and especially Lord Cognito. Really, it was great to spend more than the few minutes that we had at E3, and now a whole podcast. But yes, seriously, please come back again. I will reach out. I thought you were great. Clearly, our audience should be tuning into what you're up to, following what you're up to. Just so much. I can just tell so much passion, enthusiasm, and I like the positivity from you as well. Of the negativity, that's the low-hanging fruit. You find the positive. This is a hobby. Gaming is a hobby that should be celebrated. So I appreciate your perspective and just where you're coming from about gaming is fun. It's enthusiastic.
It's the great unifier, right? This is what all brings us together. We should not be separated because this is what we all love to do, man.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. And thanks to everybody out there for listening. This was Unlocked 458, and we'll see you back here next week.